welcome to the World News on Souqnews Television. We are reaching you live from our studios in Lagos. I am Omobola Sandra. Here are the headlines. CAC to delist 100,000 dormant companies. Dangote refiner withdraws against NNPCL. Ghana dumps local firm, eyes global investors. Turkey, Iraq, new energy deal. The Tigers beat Mozambique to advance to quarterfinals. Now the news in details. Nigeria's Corporate Affairs Commission has announced plans to delist 100,000 dormant companies from its register. The affected firms have failed to meet mandatory requirements, including the filing of annual returns and disclosure of beneficial ownership, some for over 10 years. A 90-day grace period has been given for affected companies to regularize their status. After that, defaulting firms will be removed from the register and deemed dissolved, making it illegal to do business in their names. The move is part of efforts to clean up Nigeria's corporate registry and improve transparency in line with anti-money laundering standards. Nigeria's Debt Management Office has successfully raised over 185 billion naira from its July bond auction, exceeding expectations. 2 bonds were reopened in the auction, one manufacturing in 2029 and the other in 2032. Despite offering 80 billion naira, investor demand was strong, with total bids topping 300 billion naira. The 7-year bond attracted the most attention, drawing over 260 billion naira in subscriptions. Analysts say the lower interest rate at which the bonds were sold suggests investor confidence in the economy and possible expectations of falling inflation. Settlement is scheduled for July 30th. The federal government may proceed with the reprivatization of the 11 power distribution companies, DISCOs, if the Electricity Act Amendment Bill 2025, currently before the National Assembly, becomes law. The National Assembly has initiated a process that could see existing DISCO investors lose their stakes should they fail to significantly improve their investments. Sponsored by Senator Enyinaya Abaribe, the amendment bill seeks to overhaul the 2023 Electricity Act by addressing regulatory gaps. It warns that investors risk share dilution, receivership, or outright reprivatization if fresh capital is not injected within 12 months, following years of poor performance and a worsening debt crisis. This clause comes into effect immediately after assent. The bill has passed its second reading and is undergoing further legislative action. The Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority has issued a strong warning to both local and international airlines operating in the country, insisting on full compliance with the first need compensation policy for passengers affected by short-landed baggage or risk sanctions. Short-landed baggage refers to checked-in luggage that is mistakenly left behind at the departure airport and arrives on a later flight. According to Part 19 of the Civil Aviation Regulations 2023, passengers whose baggage is short-landed are entitled to compensation of 10,000 naira for domestic flights and $170 for international flights to cover basic needs while awaiting their luggage. The Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection at the NCAA, Michael Achimugu, gave this directive through a press statement released to journalists on Monday. He stated that the authority would no longer tolerate non-compliance. And now, Dangote Refinery has withdrawn its 100 billion naira lawsuit against the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, and several others over oil import licenses. The case, filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja, sought to challenge the licenses granted by regulators to rival firms. Dangote had argued that the move undermined local refining and violated the Petroleum Industry Act. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, had also tried to join the case, claiming it concerned potential monopoly issues, but the court dismissed that request earlier this year. With this latest move, Dangote Refinery is no longer pursuing the legal battle. A formal discontinuance application is expected at the next court hearing scheduled for September 29th. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has strongly urged the federal government to prioritize manufacturing and industrialization. MAN contends that these sectors are crucial to accurately reflect the nation's true economic situation and leverage gains from Nigeria's improved rebased gross domestic product. Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadir, Director General of MAN, made this call on Tuesday in Lagos, reacting to Nigeria's GDP growth of 3.13% in the first quarter of 2025. Ajayi Kadir highlighted that this modest improvement from 2.27% in the same period of 2024 indicates the economy's capacity for recovery. However, he also noted that the rebased GDP, a revised nominal GDP estimate, is primarily a direct outcome of enhanced data capture, especially in agriculture, services, and informal sector activities, implying the economy's underlying fragility despite the numerical improvement. We'll go on a break. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Lateef Jakande. Born Lateef Kayode Jakande in the Ekpetedo area of Lagos Island, Lagos State on July 1929. He studied at the Lagos Public School at Enowa, Lagos Island, then at Bonham Memorial Methodist School, Port Harcourt, King's College, enrolled at Ilesha Grammar School, where he edited a literary paper called The Quarterly Mirror. Jakande began a career in journalism in 1949 with a daily service and joined the Nigerian Tribune in 1953. The owner, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, appointed Jakande editor-in-chief of the Tribune in 1956. Jakande established John West Publications in 1975 after leaving Tribune and began to publish the Lagos News. He served as the first president of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria, NPAN. Jakande ran for election as Executive Governor of Lagos State in 1979 on the Unity Party of Nigeria platform. His administration was effective and open and implemented the cardinal policies of his party. He introduced housing and educational programs targeting the poor, building new neighborhood primary and secondary schools, and providing free primary and secondary education. He gave poor people's children education, and many of them are now very prominent in the society today. Jakande established the Lagos State University and constructed over 30,000 housing units. After the military takeover in 1983, Jakande was charged, prosecuted, and convicted of treason and later pardoned. He served as Minister of Works under the Sani Abacha military regime. He died in Lagos on February 11, 2021. Lateef Jakande was the first civilian governor of Lagos State. Lateef Kayode Jakande, Souk Enlightenment.
Welcome back. It is still world news on Souqnews television. Ghana has scrapped a $1.2 billion bauxite mining deal with local firm Rockshore International and is now seeking global investors to develop one of West Africa's richest bauxite reserves. The lease, covering the Nyanin Hills in central Ghana, was declared void as it lacked parliamentary approval, an essential requirement under Ghana's mining laws. The state-owned Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation is now in advanced talks with foreign partners, including Emirates Global Aluminium and some Chinese firms, to take over the project. Ghana holds one of the world's largest untapped bauxite reserves, but continues to lag behind regional players like Guinea in turning those resources into economic growth. Egypt's economy is showing signs of recovery, growing by 4% in the last fiscal year ending June, a slight improvement on earlier forecasts. Africa's third largest economy has faced tough times in recent years, hit by high inflation, a sharp currency drop, and the ripple effects of the war in Gaza. But with fresh reforms under an $8 billion agreement with the International Monetary Fund, and $24 billion in investment from the United Arab Emirates, the country is now regaining momentum. Inflation, once at a record 38% in 2023, has slowed down to 14.9% in June. Still, it remains above the central bank's target. Meanwhile, the Egyptian pound, floated in March, continues to slide, now trading around 48.6 to the dollar. Interest rates currently at 25% are expected to fall gradually as inflation eases. Economists say the road ahead will depend heavily on maintaining reforms and cushioning the impact of subsidy cuts, especially in the energy sector. Saudi Arabia has announced a 30-day grace period for foreign nationals with expired visit visas to leave the country without facing additional penalties. The new policy, which began on June 26th, applies to all categories of visit visas, including family, business, and tourism. It allows visitors to exit the kingdom legally after settling any other outstanding fines or visa-related fees. Authorities say the process must be completed through the Ministry of Interior's Absha platform, and delays could lead to fines or a ban on returning to Saudi Arabia. The move is part of efforts to improve immigration management, especially during peak travel and religious seasons. And now, Turkish Energy Minister Alparslan Bayraktar has emphasized that any proposed new energy agreement between Turkey and Iraq must fundamentally include a mechanism to ensure the full utilization of the critical oil pipeline connecting the two nations. This demand comes as discussions intensify over the energy partnership. Last week, Ankara announced that the decade-old accord governing the Kirkuk-Sian oil pipeline is set to expire in July 2026. Concurrently, an Iraqi official revealed that Turkey had proposed broadening the scope of the new deal to encompass wider cooperation in vital sectors such as oil, natural gas, petrochemicals, and electricity. Bayraktar, articulating Turkey's core demand, stated that his country is pushing for a draft agreement that integrates robust provisions to guarantee the pipeline's optimal and continuous use, highlighting its strategic importance for both nations. Great banking ECB to discount polluting collateral in loans by 2026. The European Central Bank, ECB, says it will begin factoring climate risk into its lending operations by late 2026. Under the new policy, assets tied to high climate risk could lose value when used as collateral for ECB loans. This move is aimed at encouraging banks to back greener sectors as Europe steps up efforts to curb carbon emissions. The ECB says the new climate factor will apply to assets issued by non-financial companies and will serve as a cushion against climate-related financial shocks. This comes as the bank continues to press lenders to disclose their climate risk, warning of penalties for those who fail to comply. We'll take a break. More global and policy updates. Join us in a moment.
Welcome to Femi Walsh Limited, owners of Souq TV Lagos, Our Radio Lagos, Kaswa Radio Kano, and of course Emirates TV Abuja and Dubai. Our niche market for media is business, economy, and development. At Femi Walsh, we promote your company's products and services using our world-class facilities. From our radio to Souq TV, what you get is nothing but the best of the very best. And if you're looking for the premium production firm for your events and corporate coverage, think no further, because we offer you the best of industry standards. With high-definition cameras ranging from 4K to 8K multicam setups, high-directional microphones, and real-time streaming encoders, we give you a production like none other. And if you're looking to produce podcasts, adverts, and documentaries, our team of experts will ensure that you convey your message clearly and professionally. Femi Walsh, Global Vision, Local Impact.
Thank you for staying with us. It is still world news on Souqnews television. The pension manager for Canada's wealthiest province fired its entire board in the span of 8 months, shuttered new offices in Singapore and New York, and cut more than 24 jobs. Premier Daniel Smith says that's just the start of sweeping changes for the 180 billion Canadian dollars. That is $131 billion, Alberta Investment Management Corps, and perhaps Canada's entire pension system. The move stands to upend the widely admired Canadian model of pensions operating with independent governance through sophisticated in-house management and partnerships with global firms. The populist leader is seeking to overhaul how the oil-rich province handles its retirement savings and wealth, with a focus on slashing costs, curbing DER initiatives, building up a homegrown fund, and possibly reducing its exposure to private equity. And now moving on to sports, defending champions of the FIBA Africa Women's Afro-Basket Championship, Nigeria's The Tigers secured their second win of this 2025 edition against a hard-fighting Mozambique team, thereby qualifying for the quarterfinals. This victory is one of the most anticipated matchups in women's African basketball. Was hard-fought as Mozambique proved why they are favorites for the title in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. For most of the 40 minutes, both teams traded blows intensely. However, the reigning champions eventually prevailed 60-55, advancing to the quarterfinals as the Group D winners with a perfect 2-0 record. Credit is due to Nigeria, who brought their experience and desire to remain undefeated, extending their impressive streak to 26 women's Afro-Basket games dating back to 2015. Also in sports, Victor Osimhen is expected to be officially unveiled in Istanbul this Saturday, just before Galatasaray's high-profile friendly against Lazio at Rams Park. News from Turkey yesterday confirmed that Galatasaray Vice President Abdullah Kavuku is set to fly into Naples, Italy, with Osimhen to finalize the paperwork for the €75 million permanent transfer of the Nigerian striker. The 26-year-old Super Eagles forward will be presented to Galatasaray fans after the deal's completion, which includes the Super League champions paying 40 million euros upfront, with the remaining 35 million euros due by the end of 2026. The agreement also features a 10% sell-on clause for Napoli and a 2-year restriction preventing an immediate return to the Italian Serie A. Osimhen will spend the 2024-25 season on loan at Galatasaray, made an indelible mark by scoring 37 goals and delivering 8 assists in 41 matches. Thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social platforms at Souqnews Television. I am Omobola Sandra.